Alrighty, everybody, welcome back to another week here on the Pattison Report. I'm Brandon. That's Ryan. The sky is falling. We lost to the Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon marches back into Philadelphia. All the talk about, I want to make him uncomfortable. I don't want him to enjoy his time here. All the Jonathan Gannon made himself right at home real quickly. They ran the ball up and down the field on us. They made James Conner look like the man he was back in Pittsburgh. Kyler Murray remembered how to play football. And we looked at an Eagles team that not only was not a Super Bowl contender, not a playoff contender. That is the kind of team that I don't think will beat starters on starters. I don't know if they beat Giants this week. How have we fallen this far this quickly?
Coaching. I've been ranting about it every day for the past however many weeks. It's just I've made a case on my own to say that Sirianni should not be the coach of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia Eagles anymore. I think he lost the team, and when you lose the team, it's over.
That would be. I'm not necessarily against you here, but that would be the quickest hook
ever, pretty much,
in probably Eagles history. I think you'd be hard pressed to find another situation where a head coach made the playoffs his first 3 seasons with the team and made a Super Bowl and then was fired. That being said, I don't think you're completely off base. I mean, we've kind of seen how Howie and Jeffrey Lurie go about their business, and you don't get a couple years to figure it out. If they think you've lost the team or if they think you're going in the wrong direction, they'll pull you that season.
Yeah, I mean, bare minimum, everyone around Sirianni except Stoutland. We'll keep Stoutland because he's
Michael Clay
developing online
special teams.
That's you. That as well. Those are the only 2 that should stay around Sirianni. I think you could can everybody else, clear them out.
I think that's a foregone conclusion. I think Brian Johnson's got to know, look, this didn't work. I'm not coming back. Sean Desai got kind of fired midseason. Matt Patricia's been a dumpster fire. It's bad. I will say if there's a coach on the staff that I do feel remotely bad for, it actually is Sean Desai. I thought he got pulled entirely too quickly. No, we didn't play well against San Francisco and Dallas. Don't get me wrong. But until that murderous stretch of games, and even halfway through it, we had a very solid Eagles defense. We were top 10 in most categories. Now, the wheels fell off in San Fran and never got put back on. But I never thought Matt Patricia was going to be the savior. I thought Sean Desai could at least keep this defense middle of the pack, let's say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, with all the talent on it, I want to know what happened to the D-line. Jalen Carter's kind of hit a rookie wall. Josh Sweat hasn't been producing. I know Hassan Reddick's been dropping into coverage a lot.
Yeah, some of that scheme.
Like I'm not putting it on those guys necessarily, but it's really tough when the D-line has all those assets invested into it and it's not producing like it should be, like it was last year even.
And that's why I think so much of it is scheme because obviously you lose a guy like Hargrave and that sucks. Hargrave we knew he was going to be a star and he turned into one. But I think part of it is, one that's, I guess, that scheme. Jonathan Gannon turns out probably a pretty good football coach. As much as I hate to admit it, because I still think he phoned that Super Bowl in, but he might know what he's doing. And then, when it comes to the defense, you got to look at, the secondary. I mean, our secondary this year has been god-awful. And it's really hard to have a great pass rush and a horrible secondary. And then you lose TJ Edwards, who no one knew how big of a deal that was going to be. You have no cover at the middle. So are the sack numbers down? Absolutely. Are we getting any coverage sacks at all? No. So it's an uphill climb for those guys up front.
It definitely is. I mean, Does it all fall on coaching, or does some of it have to fall on Howie?
I mean, so look, if we're looking at levels of blame here, personally, I think Howie's pretty low. And I say that because coming into the season, I was stoked about the lineup that he put together. No one could have seen, I don't think, and people will say that they did, and those people are lying, in my opinion. No one could have seen this level of regression from James Bradbury. No one. Should you have expected some? Sure, he's a 30-plus-year-old safety. No one saw this coming. I mean, he's borderline unplayable on the outside right now. I thought Slays overall had a pretty decent season. He gets a lot more hate than he deserves. The weird thing is we had 2 All-Pro corners. I don't think either one are All-Pro this year. I know Slay made the Pro Bowl, but that's not necessarily indicative. So I don't put a lot of it on Howie. He drafted the guys he wanted him to draft. He brought back BG and Fletcher Cox, both of which have been – I mean, Fletcher's probably been your best D lineman this year, if we're being honest. Like, of that interior D line that was supposed to be so talented, the old guy, Fletcher Cox, is your best player. I mean, I guess his biggest sin would have been not investing in the linebacker group. That you can hold against Howie for sure.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I wish the offseason would have played out a little differently to where maybe Chauncey Gardner-Johnson came back and we let go one of the 2 corners and then drafted Joey Porter Jr. with our second first. Like, hindsight's 2020, I guess, but still.
Yeah, because you still, I mean, look, Jalen Carter's probably, I mean, now he's slipped a little bit too, but he's still probably going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year for the NFC.
We'll see.
I mean, at one point it was a lock. Now I still think he probably wins it.
If Will Anderson has a massive game to get Houston into the playoffs, I don't think you could give it to Jalen Carter.
We'll see. Like I said, but
I might be placing a couple of Will Anderson Defensive Rookie of the Year bets before this weekend.
Yeah, it's not bad. But I guess what I'm saying is, I mean, for a rookie, he's had an impactful season. Jordan Davis has regressed a tad. I wish he would play more snaps, but he's still great against the run. Again, no one's been good against the run these last 4 weeks. You can't judge him based on that. So I wouldn't do the draft any differently. I agree. I think CJ Gardner-Johnson was worth whatever he wanted from the Eagles. We should have paid that, because I am not in on Kevin Byard at all. I think he's been a colossal letdown.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you swing and you miss, and it's just one of those things where you gotta correct the process and come back to it next this offseason, because that window is running out with Jalen Hurts on that low cap hit. So Howie's got limited time to figure it out. And
yeah, and it's not just Hurts. You got to figure, I mean, you have Jalen, you have Hurts on the limited cap hit for sure. Slay's payday is going to come due. Every offseason, I mean, football's a sport of 1-year deals. So every offseason, you have to look at your 1-year guys and go, okay, are we going one more? Is it time to cut ties? Swift, John, do you bring Swift back? It depends on who you bring in as OC. I mean, I love DeAndre Swift, but if you're going to bring someone in who, like Brian Johnson, doesn't prioritize the run, then why pay him? If they're going to make the run your identity again, I still don't know if you pay him, to be honest.
This running back class is no bueno, so.
Yeah, but look at the guys who are popping off. Isaiah Pacheco, it sucks. I love DeAndre Swift. He's been a revelation for this Eagle team. I just don't believe in paying any running back ever.
Well, unless he's Christian McCaffrey, I tend to agree.
Yeah, yes. Unless you're
you have to be a receiver. That's where I stand on the argument.
Yeah. So unfortunately, he probably doesn't come back. Next year, I believe, is the last year for Hassan Reddick's deal, so that bill is going to come due eventually. So, like you said, the window is slamming shut in a hurry, and this isn't the year, so you got to look towards next year. We
could still have hope. We're Eagles fans. We always have hope. I don't think this is the year, and especially with the choking away of the 2 seed, but you never know.
Choking away, first of all, choking away the 2 seed is the latest calamity. This team choked away the 1 seed.
Yeah.
until that San Francisco game, even when we played the Niners, think of where San Francisco was. I think we had a 2-game lead on the 1 seed when that game was played. We lose to the Niners, then we lose to the Cowboys. Then we think, okay, we'll stop the skid. Then you lose to we had the number 1 seed by the balls, and then proceeded to lose 3 out of the next 4.
Yeah.
That's not choking away the 2 seed. That's choking away the NFC.
It's gonna hurt not having those games in any games in Philly, really.
Yeah. I mean,
unless the Rams pull one out of their hat, and we pull one out of our hat at the same time, which I doubt that's gonna happen. That never really does. So,
no, we're gonna have to go on the road. Nothing about this team has showed me they're mentally strong enough to go win on the road. And I guess I don't think it matters, honestly, unless we'll know a lot this Giant game. I know they're talking about resting starters. I think if you rest the starters at that point, you've thrown the towel on the season. Because there's no way you can look at the product that we've put out the last 5 weeks and go, we have nothing to work on. Rest the guys.
Yeah, I agree. Unless Jalen's like truly hurt, then
yeah,
maybe, but there's nowhere to go. But it just looking back at it now, it just makes that one call in the Detroit-Dallas game ever so more impactful. We didn't get to talk about that at all because we haven't been on since then. Now it looks like if all the favorites advance or the Eagles, beat the 4 seed, it's still going to be Dallas-Detroit, but it's going to be in Dallas instead of Detroit.
Yeah, they should be absolutely furious. And again, nobody saw that. That could have mattered a lot, but it probably wasn't going to. It was like, look, this sucks. The refs directly influenced the game, and everyone have that. Detroit got screwed, et cetera, et cetera. But probably not going to matter. The Eagles are going to beat Arizona. It's going to be a moot point. And then we lose to Arizona. And if you're Detroit, you have to be having a complete meltdown, knowing that call kept you from hosting a playoff game. For the first time in, I don't even remember how long since Detroit's hosted a playoff game.
It's been a long time.
So, I mean, they have every right to be furious. In that matchup, I'm probably if that's the matchup, if it's Cowboys-Lions, I really like Detroit.
They're gonna be hungry.
They're gonna be hungry. They're gonna be pissed. And have you seen the stats kind of lean towards Jared Goff being Tom Brady indoors?
Mm-hmm.
Dome game, no matter how you slice it.
Detroit's one of my favorite bets to come out of the NFC. Because Jared Goff, the one thing that man can't do is play in the cold. And considering Philly's now the 5 seed,
he won't have to. It'll be a dome path the whole way, which I hate. Football is a cold sport, and it should be played outdoors. Unless the only teams I give a pass to are Minnesota, because someone is going to die. Or if you're
collapse.
Well, yeah, I mean,
they had a dome and it still didn't even hold up with the weather there.
Exactly, yeah. Minnesota, you couldn't put them outside. Just about everybody else, get your ass outdoors. Texas, come on. That bothers
Arizona,
me.
yeah.
Yeah, that pisses me off. It's an outdoor sport. The NFC has classically been these cold weather teams. The fact that the NFC playoffs are going to run through domes. It's so annoying. So dumb. So dumb.
We'll get back to the glory days of the NFC soon enough.
Yeah, I want snow games. I want LaShawn McCoy breaking ankles in the snow. Before everybody comes for me, I know that was a regular season game. You get my point.
We're never going to get a cold weather Super Bowl again after that beatdown that Seattle put on Denver in the one cold weather Super Bowl that we happen to have.
I know. That game shouldn't have even... That shouldn't be the line in the sand. Those are 2 cold weather teams that should be able to hang. Now, I could see if the Dolphins made the Super Bowl and the Broncos smacked them around. Yeah, I kind of get it. Also, just kind of stop being a bitch. But that's beside the point. I don't know. I think football should be played outside. But to your point with the Lions, the second that the Eagles lose their first playoff game, which I think is a foregone conclusion, I am all in on Detroit. That in the NFC, they're my team. the AFC, because the Eagles aren't in it regardless, I am the biggest Cleveland Browns fan you'll find outside of Cleveland, Ohio right now. I got the orange on. I'm all in on Joe Flacco at 38 years old leading this team to a Super Bowl.
I would love to see it.
Even better, dude, Joe going to M&T Bank as a Brown and beating Lamar.
Would that be the second round?
Yeah.
I don't know if the AFC South team that comes out wins their first matchup. That's the one I'm concerned about. It might have to be the conference title game. I'm really concerned that Houston or I don't even know it's 3 of the 4 teams are still in it to win the division. The Colts, the Texans, and the Jaguars.
Yes, it's if the Jags beat the Titans, they win it.
They're in. Yeah.
If they lose, it's the winner of the Colts Texans.
If whoever wins that game, I think they're going to be the favorite though. I'm hammering Browns money line.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
I don't care where they have to go. Imagine if Nick Chubb was still healthy.
That'd be pretty sweet. I'm trying to find a bracket so we can start looking at how this thing works. They always have them in list form, and I hate the lists. I want to look at it.
I mean, couldn't Buffalo be a wild card team as well? So
yeah. So right now, as it sits today, Buffalo would be the 6th. So it looks like right now, if the season ended today, it'd be Ravens would get the bye. It'd go Dolphins, Colts, Chiefs, Bills, Jags, Browns if it ended today. And then in the NFC, the Niners would get the bye. It'd be no. This has got to be mad old. No, it's not. How the hell? Sorry. How the Packers aren't it, right?
They might be actually.
This has them listed as the 7th seed. I thought they were below 500.
They're not below 500. They've been winning football games. They won their last 2, so I think they're 8-7 right now, if I'm not mistaken. They won against Minnesota on Sunday night, New Year's Eve. It was a SmackDown.
Mm-hmm.
They beat the Panthers, which a game they probably should have lost. Honestly,
they're 8-8.
8-8, 8-7. Yeah, I'm confused. I forgot that extra game of the season.
Yeah, 8-8.
Yeah, they're currently in.
Okay. I didn't think they were. I thought their playoff.
Well, they've been playing good football. By good football, I mean barely beating the Panthers with 34 points.
Oh, okay. Well, I stand corrected then. So how did that work? So we go Cowboys, Packers, Lions, Rams, Bucks, Eagles in the NFC. You're right.
The Bucks could lose it too this weekend. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Because they lost their last game to the Saints, and now the division's wide open. There's a lot to decide this weekend. Nothing that involves our team, though.
No, we're locked.
Unless the Commanders somehow beat Dallas, which I wouldn't put it past them, especially considering the game is in Washington.
Sam Howell's playing, so you're either going to get the second coming of Brett Favre or completely useless.
Look, if there's anything that I love more in sports, it's quarterbacks playing for their job on a team that can't win anything in week 18. That is
yeah,
that's up here for me in sport. Like, there's going to be so many teams this weekend that just want to ruin a season. And the Commanders are on top of that list. The Titans are on top of that list. I'll be on them this weekend.
Dude, take some time out of your day and watch the Vrabel press conference about this game with the Jags. Some reporter named Gentry, God bless this guy. He asked them, what their motivation to win this week is. Because nothing matters for Tennessee. And Vrabel just gives him this all-time answer. The first line is like, because losing fucking sucks, man. And then another reporter goes, Mike, what do you think about, something about X and Y, Z? Mike pauses. He goes, no, you know what, Gentry? I'm not done. And then he goes back to the previous reporter and just keeps grilling him about, oh, dude, you got to find the clip. It's so good.
Find the clip. It should be hard to find.
Yeah, it's classic Vrabel. But yeah, so they're out to ruin seasons. Look, this is the Dallas team that also lost to Arizona. So they can be beat at any given moment.
The Kyler Murray-less Arizona, might I add.
Did Josh Dobbs beat them?
Oh yeah, the Pastronaut.
Astronaut, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, I don't know how he got benched. I mean, I know exactly how he got benched. I watched that Chicago game. That was
Yeah, I mean, for one, he was horrible, and then two, there was nothing to gain by playing him. I mean, Jared Hall's the only guy who's going to be in that quarterback room next year anyway.
big old yikes. But yeah, lots to figure out. It should be a decent weekend of football. I really we're probably going to talk about this next week, but if the Eagles get scheduled on that Monday night playoff game, I'm going to be not happy.
No, me either.
And you know them versus the Bucks is like it's like the poster child matchup to put there.
Oh yeah, it's the one where it's yeah. Outside of those two fan bases, nobody cares. I just sent you the clip.
Oh god, it's either them or the Browns. Whoever wins the AFC South.
Wouldn't that be this doesn't get talked about enough? Wouldn't it be a real bitch if Jalen in his first 3 seasons gets bounced by Tampa Bay twice?
Tampa Bay didn't look good, so like
neither do we.
I know, neither do we. But like Tampa were like, oh, they're a fiery underdog team that could make a run, and then they just ran into the Saints and like absolutely got destroyed.
I agree that they're not a good football team. I also think that Mike Evans is going to have our secondary in therapy after that game ends.
Yeah.
So
I'll just hope it's Derek Carr instead in the Saints, and I don't think he'll pose much of a threat.
Then we're chilling. Although Alvin Kamara could run for 400.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who's to say? But we haven't talked about the Eagles in the past 7 minutes, and that tells me that it's time to pull the plug on this operation because there's nothing good left to talk about with the Birds. I promise we'll get back into the Sixers. I know they've been crushing it and the Flyers, but the Eagles have a couple more weeks of meaningful football, and then this town lives and dies by the Sixers and Flyers. But until such a time, I'm Brandon. God damn, it's always backwards. That's right.
Backwards.
Yep. Fuck this. This is the Patterson Report. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.